Hello everybody, I'm TychoCelchuuu and you're listening to a Men of War video commentary shoutcast thingy. We're watching a 4v4 match sent to me by... I can't remember his name, but he's the same guy who sent me the last one, so you can go watch that and just listen to that. Looks like he's bought a submachine gun squad, which is a pretty good idea for your first thing. If you run into any enemy light vehicles, you're going to get torn the heck apart, or if they get a lucky machine gun placement, you're going to get torn apart. But otherwise, submachine gun, real nice. They can spread out and take territory. In a 4v4, you can pretty much rely on your teammates having some sort of thing to handle enemy light vehicles if they try and blitzkrieg you. So you have the option to wait a bit and then just buy something like a T-70, which this guy got, which that'll handle light vehicles too. But really, that's basically what you have to watch out for if you decide to buy an infantry squad first. It's the light vehicles. Anything else you can handle. I really wouldn't worry about the machine gun that I mentioned, because most people do not buy a machine gunner really early on, because you just get one guy or you get two guys if you're British and American, and there's really no point. If you're going to get infantry, you might as well buy a big squad to use and spread out and take a lot of places, or at least spread out and start scouting. And then you can buy an AT rifle or a T-70 or something. You notice, I think the guy playing just marked that Puma on the map. He hovered over it and he hit N, and so he's trying to alert his teammates about it, and he's facing his ZIS-2 to try and take it out. Nice AT gun. A lot of people, I think, don't like buying AT guns on huge maps like this because it's going to take a while to tow it to the front, and they want to take like a light vehicle or something to tow it before they do that. But I usually just buy AT guns. It really doesn't take a huge amount of time to get there. So now we have a rather fortuitous occurrence. These paratroopers the enemy sent. He bought a rather expensive squad of infantry trying to make the most of them. He sent these paratroopers to fight our Soviet submachine gunners, but he had his T-70 light tank there supporting him. So although he lost all his submachine gunners, he got that paratrooper squad completely killed, and then he just buys another submachine gun. So here you see he's just moved his ZIS-2 up, and the good thing is that you really don't have to move him super far up, because in the beginning of the game when you're fighting light vehicles and stuff, the opponents have a tendency to bring their light vehicles and just get behind your lines to try and flank you. And the advantage to that is, of course, that your AT gun really doesn't have to go so far to fight those light vehicles. You might have seen, I'm not sure if you're watching too closely, when he hovered his reticule over the Puma, it was red. I don't think that's because the ZIS, or the penetration number was red. I don't think that's because the ZIS-2 cannot penetrate the Puma from the side. I think it's because this game they're playing, they have the penetration numbers turned off. That's one of the options the host can do. He can turn off the penetration chances and the damage things. Those are two separate things. If you turn off penetration chances, then it's basically what it says on the box. You cannot see what kind of chance you have to penetrate when you fire your shell at the enemy tank. So you see he's tossing grenades to try and take out this Pak-40. So I actually like that. It's kind of worse for newer players, obviously, because you haven't really gotten used to what can penetrate what from what distance and what angle and stuff. But it's obviously a lot more realistic if you have to worry about, well, you can't be sure if you're going to penetrate or something. But I would recommend certainly playing with it on if you can for quite a while to get a feel for what can penetrate what at what ranges. And so it looks like he's decrewed this Pak-40. If he steals it, that'd be really nice. And turning off damage thingies, I think it's damage messages is what it's called. That basically, whenever you shoot something, you see like turret destroyed or hull crushed or main gun damaged or something, that just turns those off, so you can't be sure whether you took out the main gun on the tank until they fire. And so here we have a real German blitzkrieg coming. Apparently they have a lot of resources to play around with this game, because that looks like a Tiger right there, plus a Panzer IV. So this is a serious mechanized assault. And then we have another Panzer IV. So this is getting pretty ugly. He's got a T-70, that's not going to do anything. He's got a ZIS-2, that certainly can do something, although against the Tiger is going to have some serious problems. Against the Panzer IV, he'll have much more luck. He should get his T-70 out of there. It's firing its machine gun, which means the opponent can see it, which means, bam, that Panzer IV shoots it. Although it lives through the shot, and looks like the Tiger misses it too, so his T-70 lives to fight another day. We can't say the same thing about his AT gun, and boom, there's the Tiger. Gotta watch out for those Tigers. The Tiger is not a joke. That's an 88mm cannon on it, I believe. You do not want to be fighting that. Oh, it looks like his ZIS-2 was not destroyed. When the shell impacted it, it blew the two crewmen off, but one of them survived, recruited it, and bam, that Panzer IV is dead. Those AT guys can be really resilient. You gotta make sure you've killed them, or better yet, if you're not gonna be able to steal the enemy's AT gun, which, let's face it, often you aren't gonna be able to, just blow it up. Just fire at it with an HE shell, and a couple of those, kaboom, it'll explode. What he did manage to do was hurt that AT gun. I don't know if you saw, but the barrel was damaged. So what this guy's doing, he's taking his Jeep, he's towing his AT gun back, and then he's going to recruit it with tank crew and probably repair it too. That is pretty cool. If you take a quick look at the mini-map, you'll see they have 4 points. The people we're watching from, the Allies. The Soviets have 4 points, while the Germans only have 3, which means if the Germans don't turn this around soon enough, they're just it's gonna get harder and harder and harder for them to win, because in the upper right, their points, the Allies' points are ticking up. But we can't read that because the compression is too bad. It actually looks like they have 95 points out of 1,200, so they're gonna need a bit more to win. And yeah, now we have German infantry and tank assaults on the right, but these submachine gun infantry that is spread out all along these houses are doing a good job of protecting him, which is what they're for. Looks like somebody just killed his own infantry with a stolen enemy Puma, if I look in the upper left, but that's something we're not going to worry about, because that's happening on the other side of the map. One of the things you get a lot in Men of War in big games, like 4v4 is like what we're watching, which is, I'm pretty sure it's a 4v4. What happens in these big games is that your allies end up fighting on the left and on the middle, and you end up fighting on the right or something like that. And like you have no idea what's going on, honestly, for your allies. Like, you can spend the entire game and we might never see the left-hand side of this map. Like right now we're sort of near the middle, but it's possible his camera is just going to hover on the right-hand side the entire time. And that's it's just such a frantic game. You're fighting tooth and nail all the time. You often really don't have time to go check out what the heck your ally is doing. Looks like someone bought Katyusha rocket launcher, and he's just carpet bombing. Seriously? Yeah, this guy's not Brother Pedro, looks like his name, is not too happy about the Katyusha, because some of his people were there, but most of his people weren't there, and that managed to kill just about everything, including the Puma, so I guess it worked out pretty well. Although, can't say I can always recommend that. For all the money you spend on artillery, that's going to be reloading for 5 minutes before it's good for anything else, so often I prefer tank or infantry to something like a rocket launcher, although there's nothing more annoying than having to fight artillery. So now we see something that happens quite a lot in Men of War, which is the host has chosen some ridiculous resource setup, and everyone's just buying a bunch of everything. Most people, I'm not sure about most people, I'm not going to make sweeping declarations, but I prefer smaller battles, or at least more longer battles. What's probably happened is he has not turned on payback. You have 2 options, with payback or without payback. If you have payback, whenever you spend money on something, and then the unit dies, you get the money back over time. It doesn't come back instantly, but over time the money comes back. Kaboom! Nice try, Mr. I think that was a Puma that was stolen. Nice try. But